ready to go?
All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started now. And so I'm going to go through my introduction again. If you were here for the first one, you can tune this part out. But just to let you know, this is the third primary election forum by the Cheyenne League of Women Voters is doing. We did 2 legislative forums earlier in July. Tonight we're doing the forum for this 3 city council wards, and to let you know that in August at the county fair we're going to have 2 more forums on August 6th at the fairgrounds at Frontier Park. In the free entertainment area we will have all the county offices, which is going to be a very full evening. We're going to try to get to all the contested races there. And then on August 9th out there at the same setting we were going to do the 2 state level races that don't seem to be getting a lot of attention so far for state auditor and state treasurer. So we'll have those. Just to let you know that Charter is doing these 3 in the city council chambers. We have someone else who's going to be recording the others at the fairground. All will be posted online as a YouTube video, and plus Charter Communications Spectrum will be putting it on their public access channel as well. So a lot of opportunities, not just here tonight, but also to view the videos later. I want to thank Spectrum and the City Council for making this wonderful facility available, and also the recording. They've been a great supporter for the League of Women Voters and its voter efforts. And early voting continues right now. It started earlier in this month. It continues in the county building, the atrium, and plus you can get a paper ballot and vote absentee that way. The actual primary date is August 21st. There'll be several voting centers around the county. You can find all that information, plus how to register, how to register and vote, all on the county clerk's website. If you don't know which ward you live in, let's say you live in the city and you're wondering who's going to be on your ballot, you can find that at her website as well. Just to let you know, League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization open to all that works to help people get involved in their government, to be informed, and to vote. And we hope that all these forums help provide some information, but we also urge people to check out the candidates' materials and to contact them if you have other questions. In addition, we forgot to ask the Ward 1 candidates there, but we'll get to it this time. The Wyoming League of Women Voters has written 5 principles of campaign integrity, and we hope the candidates will use them as kind of a guideline for how they run their campaign. It also provides voters with a guideline of how to evaluate campaigns and candidates. And in addition, the State League of Women Voters has written up a pamphlet called Choosing a Wyoming Candidate, and it also helps people just one other way to evaluate candidates and their campaigns, because every election is an important one. Every election gives you lots of choices, and sometimes it helps to have kind of a yardstick as a way to measure those candidates. What we're hoping is all our forums give you information and bring out differences between the candidates, so when you finally get to the polls, you have enough information to make a good informed vote. Just to let you know, tonight, this part we moved on to City Council Ward 2. There are 2 people running for 1 open seat. Each ward has 1 open seat this time. The Ward 3, the incumbent is not running, so it's completely open, but the other 2 seats, the incumbents are running. They will serve for another 4 years, a 4-year term. In 2 years, the other 2 seats of each ward will be up for election. So they're 4-year terms, and they're staggered. They overlap. Let's see. And there are no term limits. Let's see. We'll start with brief introductions from the candidates, just as sort of a roadmap. We'll have a minute and a half for the questions, and then there'll be an extra 15 seconds after each round where we will give you a chance to expand or to respond further to your opponent. We have a timer who will help you keep track of the time as it goes by, and so you don't get caught with an unexpressed thought. I guess we'll go ahead and start. Also to let you know that we have prepared several questions. And we also have cards available if a question occurs to you and you want to bring it up here. We have a member of the league here with pencils and cards, and there are a couple of questions we didn't get to the last for Ward 1, and we'll get to those, I guarantee you. And the only question we gave the candidates beforehand was to start out with was about 3 pressing issues for the city and how you would respond to them. That will be our first question. We have several we've written ourselves, but we'll try to get to the audience questions as much as we can. And we will do sort of stagger the person who starts the round. We have 2 candidates here. And, just to let you know that on your ballot, you will be voting for 1 person from each ward if you're in the city limits. 2 of those candidates will advance to the general because it's a nonpartisan race. They do not represent party. They're not seeking a nomination from a political party. So you'll see their name plates up there. Do not list R&D, just to let you know. So 2 candidates will advance to the general. So both of these gentlemen will advance, but you are able to vote for only 1 on your ballot. I think I've covered everything. So we'll go ahead and start. And the two candidates for Ward 2 is Mr. Rick Coppinger and then Dr. Mark Rennie, who is the incumbent in Ward 2. And we'll go ahead and start with your opening comments, and we'll start with Mr. Coppinger. Go ahead.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me. My name is Rick Coppinger. I've been a member of Cheyenne's community for 30-plus years. I am the father of 5. I've raised all 5 of my children in the city of Cheyenne. And I'm a grandfather of 6, of which 3 still live here. I've worked in several different aspects of Cheyenne. I've been in the management department. I am prior military, United States Navy. I have a strong background in management, working with people, teaching people how to work together, how to make things work in a smoother fashion. And that's pretty much where my background is just working with people.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Rennie.
Thank you. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity, and I want to thank those of you who had cared enough to attend tonight. My name's Mark Rennie. I've lived in Laramie County for over 40 years, lived in Cheyenne for over 30 of those. I also raised 5 children in Cheyenne. I've served on city council and represented, initially when I served on city council, I represented Ward 3, and then the boundary lines were redrawn, and now I represent Ward 2. I think in the years that I've been on council, I've represented my ward well. Generally, I listen to what my constituents have to say. I think I weigh the issues. And I think I bring a fair amount of common sense and decorum to the council. I've represented the council as council president several times, and as that I've had to be the liaison with 4 different mayors through the years, and have managed to have fairly good, cordial relationships with all of them and represented the council's views to them, and in many ways tried to help with moving forward as a whole and not try and have a contentious difference between the governing body or the city council and the mayor. So I think I've done a good job. I find this job very rewarding, very challenging, and look forward to continuing to do so.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now we'll start the round of questions. Again, starting with it's sort of a wide-ranging question about the 3 issues, but we hope you've had a little time to get things narrowed down. And we will start with Dr. Rennie, the 3 pressing issues facing the city and your approach to them. A minute and a half.
All right. I think, first of all, one of the major issues we have at the moment is just finishing some of the 6-penny projects or continuing and see through on the 6-penny projects we currently have going. Among those, obviously, we have Civic Center Commons across the street, the West Edge, which has had 6-penny monies voted for it, the new city municipal courthouse, and the Christensen Road overpass. Those are all things looming on the horizon that we have to do a good job of managing and taking care of. And in addition to those projects, there's always the ongoing needs of continuing with the city's, maintaining the city's infrastructure. One thing I have maintained and ran on for and represented the entire time I've been on council is improving our quality of life. I don't think Cheyenne can grow as far as new jobs, new businesses, new opportunities without an increase or improvement in our quality of life. And I think that is tremendously important to our future and to our vitality as a community. And then lastly, we've looked at on counseling, should continue to look at additional means to supplement city revenues. As it was mentioned in the earlier round, we're very dependent, very reliant on the state legislature for our monies, and that oftentimes ties our hands. And if we can find other maybe inventive ways to increase our revenues so we're not so dependent on the state, I think that's to our advantage.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Coppinger.
I'd have to, unfortunately, I agree with Dr. Rennie, but I also agree that we have issues where we need to work in our contracting agreements that we have with contractors and timing and management of those jobs, of those projects. I believe we do need to increase the quality of living in Cheyenne, but we need to do that in a fashion that doesn't cost the taxpayers more money. We need to look at creative ways to make that happen. Infrastructure, we need to work in our infrastructure to, when I ran for mayor, we worked on the roads. That was the biggest push, and I haven't seen a whole lot of that happen yet. I've seen a lot of the roads that still stay the same. Roads that are in front of elementary schools that haven't been touched or increased, that have over 4-foot long, 12-inch deep potholes in them. Those are things that need to be corrected, and that's part of the quality of life. Those are the things that we need to create, and those are the things that we need to fix.
Okay. Thank you. And the optional 15 seconds, you want to add or comment further?
Yeah, I would. I think quality of life is more than good roads. We need to have good roads, but we need to have some place we want to go to on those good roads. And lastly, on contractor agreements, we don't write those agreements. The engineers and the attorneys do. We can give our input, but essentially we don't have, like I said, the engineering department and the attorneys are the ones that write the agreements.
Did you want to add anything?
I would agree that they don't write the agreements, but they do have the input and they do have the say-so. They do have the ability to write a contract that has a deadline date on it. They do have the ability to have input as to when that contract ends, what the fine will be afterwards if they don't complete the project as said. And I agree, you do have to have some place to put people. They have to have a nice place to go. But if the heart is good and the arteries are bad, it just doesn't make any difference.
Okay, very good. And we will start with Mr. Coppinger again on this. What role do you think City Council should take in economic development and in revitalizing downtown, in developing the Heinz building, the bringing in air service? So I guess the role of City Council using public money to take care of problems, economic problems in Cheyenne, or not problems, but issues.
I don't believe the role of city government is to finance businesses as a general rule. The $750,000 for the Heinz building project that they have going on, I don't know the whole project behind that, but that's a lot of money that belongs to the people. That's something that the people should decide on, whether they want to finance that type of project. It is their money after all. The role of City Council basically is a voice of the people and what they would like to see, as well as an extension of their own voice. Richard Johnson's doing a great job of putting the splash pad together. A lot of those funds are private funds. There's no reason those things can't be continued. The same thing with air service. There has to be creative ways in order to bring air service into Cheyenne without having to use public funding for it.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Rennie.
Well, in regard to air service, I would love to hear a creative way. Essentially, the state has taken over the project of getting air service to Cheyenne, and it's come down to the fact that whoever they get here, whichever airline comes in, they want a minimum guarantee. Doesn't mean we're committed to that entire amount, because when they ask for their guarantee, it doesn't take into account any revenues. But the state has said that we will put up this much money, the city and the county have to put up this much money, and if we don't do it, we don't have air service. So that's our choice. And Then in regard to the Heinz Building, I think the city does need to take a role in revitalizing downtown. Downtown is, even though it's not my ward, it's still probably, I think it's critical to the long-term success of the city. We're judged by our downtown. When people come to Cheyenne, they don't leave and say, you should see this cool street in Cheyenne, Del Range, it's really neat. They don't do that. You know, they talk about our downtown. That's how we're judged. We need to take a role and make sure that downtown is working, attractive, and vital. And if it means, and there are just different areas of downtown that have, Mr. Roybal referred to the Heinz, it's been empty over 30 years. There are projects in downtown we have said all along, let private industry take care of it. Well, it's been 30 years and private industry hasn't taken care of it. And if they're going to take care of it, nobody has stepped up. So I think we need to get involved and move our downtown forward, and as a result, move Cheyenne forward.
Okay, thank you. Take another 15 seconds, Mr. Coppinger? Or?
I think that if private industry, I've never seen a project where government has taken in and it's been profitable. I believe that if private industry can make something work, they will make it work. I don't believe the role of city government is to take the taxpayers' dollars and put them forth to make something grow.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to
Yeah,
add?
I think it's great because obviously I disagree, and I think the voters do have a definite choice in Ward 2 what they want to see with the city. I think that, again, there are just some projects that have become too big, sat empty for too long, and it just is not viable, feasible for private industry to do it any longer.
Okay, well, let's stay on the topic of revenue and funding, public revenue. So the fifth penny, which is a countywide tax, I probably didn't explain that initially earlier, but it's the fifth penny tax will be on the ballot in a general election ballot in November. And we heard something about it in May, and there really hasn't been much to say about it. We become so dependent on the money for infrastructure, human services, the library, et cetera, first of all. Is it really optional anymore? Should we just go ahead, and because we do have the option of not putting it on the ballot, we're so reliant on it. And I guess, and also, do you have any ideas for changing the way the money is spent? So it's the ballot and then how it's allocated, and we will start with Dr. Rennie.
I think that I'm happy with the way the allocation is. I think that I do like, so far we've been lucky with the fifth penny. It's never been voted down, but I do like the idea of letting the voters have their say in it. We do try and get some community involvement. I know that there were open houses in each ward to try and get people's input as to what they wanted to see on the fifth penny. The formula for the fifth penny in the past has been 78 to 80% has been roads, streets and roads in Cheyenne. The other 20% does go to some human service agencies. Our monies do not go to the library. That's a county project. But fire trucks, police cars are also purchased out of the fifth penny. Some of the computers within the city, some small amount of equipment is purchased out of the fifth penny. And there may be only 1 to 1.5 salaries actually in there. I know one of the candidates from Ward 1 said that there should be no salaries in there. I tend to agree with that. You don't want day-to-day costs put into a tax that can maybe go away on you. But it's usually the person that administers those monies that's job is included in there. And so if the fifth penny went away, they wouldn't have a position anyway. Anyway, I do think it's essential for the city, as you kind of alluded to earlier, Marguerite. If we didn't have the fifth penny, we wouldn't get any streets done at all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Coppinger.
Real short and simple, I agree. It's up to the people. Let them vote on it. It should be on the ballot. It's their money. They should vote on it. The allocation, I think that's set up correctly. That's
Okay.
really all I have to say.
Okay. Does anyone want to take another 15 seconds then, or just, we won't. Excuse me. Move on. And I want to touch briefly on something that I guess it was mentioned in the previous Ward 1, which is that there was an occasion when the city council disagreed with the mayor and had to go it alone and kind of oppose. And I guess the question, we'll start with Mr. Coppinger. Can you think of a case when it was a good idea to go alone because disagreement with the mayor? How should they get along together? Should one defer to the other? Does one is one more important than the other? And can you think of a case when you really needed to go your own way? And I know you've been aware of city council and its activities, just a city council vis-a-vis the mayor.
I think that when there's a accumulation of this many people, if they all agree that they need to go around or circumnavigate a specific person, then that's what they have to do, so long as the end result is positive for the city of Cheyenne, that it is a benefit to the citizens of Cheyenne. It's a checks and balance system. That's the whole principle behind it, though you would like to think that the mayor would go inside, or it's not going to always happen that way. So that's just how it has to work out.
Okay. Dr. Rennie?
You want to repeat that for me?
Well, it's just basically the relationship between the mayor and the city council. Both are popularly elected. The mayor is elected from the entire city. And I guess, what is the relationship with the mayor? When should they defer to the mayor, and when should they go it alone?
Well, we have our meetings, we have our committee meetings, and we kind of think we're running the city, and then the mayor up on third floor thinks she's running the city. And truth of the matter is, the mayor does run the city. They're the administrative part of the executive part, and as council members, we're actually legislators. There are times through the years where we haven't agreed with the mayor, or the mayor's, made an argument and has lost those arguments. The one that was alluded to at the last round was Civic Center Commons, where we actually disagreed enough with the mayor that we took the project and created a separate committee and took it away from the administration. In all my years on council, that's really the only time that's happened.
Okay.
And I guess that's the only time we really thought it was, that the body thought it was necessary. For the most part, I think that we have to remember that the mayor is the executive. It's her job to run the city, and it's not our job to get in there and micromanage or try to micromanage and tell some of her employees or departments what to do. They are her employees, and essentially we are, as I said, legislators.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone want another 15 seconds? Well, we will move on. So we had a question we didn't get to last time, and a feeling it comes out of a personal concern, but and we'll start with Dr. Rennie this time. Will you protect our rights to park our campers? And I'm assuming that's on the street. That would be that seems to come up as the safety of visibility and that sort of thing. So parking campers on the streets, where do you stand?
I hate this question. This has been difficult. It's come up at times in the past, and it's generated probably more angry emails than even the smoking ordinance probably did. People that have campers are very protective of their campers, but I have to say that there are times I don't think they belong on the street, and I probably get more comments saying get the campers off the street than I get. The ones that are defending campers are usually angrier and more vocal, but the ones that would like to see them move somewhere else are more numerous. My ideal would be if we could somehow, one of these elections, do a referendum just to see what the public pulse is on that. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of waffling on this one because it's such a touchy issue, but I'm not a big fan of having campers on the streets.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me, Mr. Coppinger.
I would be for protecting the rights of people to put their campers on the streets, but it also depends on the wording, on how that's put together. Like Dr. Rennie said, I've seen it since 1979 come up, and it's never ever really worked well when it's come up to vote. They have the right to park their campers there, but they don't have the right to extend the shells or anything of that and impede on traffic and so forth. So there has to be a safety issue involved in it. And again, like Dr. Rennie said, maybe put it out for the people. Let them talk about it. Let's see what the vast majority says and go from there.
Okay, thank you.
For my 15 seconds, I just want to add, I sympathize because I realize there are not a lot of places for people to park or store their campers. in and around Cheyenne. And that is an issue. And if we were ever to do anything, I think it needs to be something that's phased in to give people time, maybe over a period of a couple, 3 years, to give people time to find a place to store their campers.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to add anything to this point? Or okay. So another sort of perennial topic that comes up, we'll go ahead and we'll start with Mr. Coppinger this time, about the non-discrimination ordinance. And you're familiar with that, I'm sure. It's to add sexual orientation with that list of protected, you can't discriminate on the basis of age, race, disability, and then adding that to that list that prohibits discrimination in housing and employment. And if it were to come back, and if you were elected, would you support that? And the arguments usually are, business and equality. Those are the two considerations.
I thought about this for a long time, and I don't believe you can legislate morality. And I don't believe by putting an ordinance into the city of Cheyenne, it's going to change our compassion. Cheyenne is a very compassionate city anyways. I don't see any discrimination going across the board. Myself, I don't see that. I've not heard of any either. But no, I don't believe in putting in a non-discrimination. It's already covered by federal law. There's no sense in putting it in second place.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Rennie.
I guess my response to this, in principle, I think I support it in that I don't think anybody should lose their job or should be evicted from their housing or their apartment based on their sexual determination. But by the same token, when I've been asked if I would support an ordinance in this regard over the years, I've always said, well, depends on the ordinance. I mean, I would like to see it. I want to know, as a small businessman, I want to know what protections small business has in case they're accused of being discriminatory. And never have the proponents come forward and showed me what the actual ordinance is. So, in principle, as I said, I don't think